So My Hero Academia has a lot of interesting characters, right? But not all of them are in the My Hero 1 Justice series. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing another episode of the How They Can Work series. In this series, we look at characters that are not My Hero 1 Justice 2, and we try to break them down to create movesets for them, so hopefully one day they will become a playable character. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about Best Jeanist. Yeah, I don't know why he's not in the game. Like, I think he would be a really cool addition. His costume design and character design is awesome, and also if you really think about it, the big three of Class 1A all have their mentors except for Bakugo. Like, Deku has All Might, Todoroki has Endeavor, but Bakugo doesn't have Best Jeanist. Like, come on, I definitely think you need to add Best Jeanist so the big three of Class 1A all have their mentors. Like, come on, I think that would be pretty cool. So in the My Hero 1's Justice series, each character usually has a normal attack, a red attack or an unblockable, a yellow attack or an armor attack, and they also have a quirk 1, a side quirk 1, a quirk 2, and a side quirk 2, and they also have a plus ultra level 1, 2, and 3. But in this series, we don't look at the normal attack because it's usually just the same punch or kick, and we don't look at the plus ultra level 3 because it's just 3 plus ultra level 1s combined into one big attack. So we only look at the unique things in this series. So yeah, that's how the series works. So let's just dive into this moveset. So Best Jeanist's quirk is called Fiber Master, and it basically allows him to control the fiber or the material that clothing and costumes are made out of, and he can basically manipulate it. So he can capture people with it, he can like drag people away with it, like pull people out of like situations with his quirk. It's like really good, and it can be used in many different ways, and I really like the quirk. So I think it'd be pretty interesting to try to build a moveset around this quirk, and that's what we're doing. So for his quirk 1, I have it labeled Fabric Strike. This is where Best Jeanist fires fabric spikes from his collar, and they would pierce the opponent multiple times. It would kind of be like a rapid jab, but instead of using punches, it would be with fabric spikes instead. So in the anime, we've seen him trying to like kind of like pierce All For One with like spikes from his collar, like the collar of his costume, and they were heading right for him. And they were moving pretty quickly, so I was thinking maybe you can make that like a rapid jab because it would be pretty good for his combos. So you can do like punch, 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 and then his quirk 1, which would like unleash a ton of like fabric spikes, you know, basically piercing the opponent, which would basically be like his rapid jab. So I feel like that would be really good for his combos, and it's also just like a reference to the anime when he was fighting All For One, so that's where I got this idea for this quirk special. And for his side quirk 1, I have a label Clothing Kick. This is where Best Jeanist does a slide kick, pushing himself with the fabric that he would attach to the ground, and if you press his side quirk 1 as he finishes the kick, the fabric will reel Best Jeanist back into his starting position. But if you don't press the side quirk 1 again, it would just kind of like act as a normal attack. If you do this attack in the air, he kicks the opponent to the ground, but you can't follow up after this kick, so it would be kind of used to end a combo because it wouldn't cause like a bounce or a ground splatter. In the game, there are a couple characters that have like slide kicks, like Ida, Shoot Style, Shinso. So yeah, they have slide kicks, but what makes this one different from the other ones is that he can actually like reel himself back to his starting position. So it's kind of like used for like shield poking, but also for combos, because it's like, okay, let me do this attack, and if the opponent blocks it, I can just reel myself back into the starting position and just go from there. I think it's really interesting because, you know, it has that like mechanic where it's like, okay, it can be used in two different ways, for a combo, but also for like trying to get in and start a combo, or basically kind of using it as like a shield poke. And I think that's really cool. And the move isn't really that broken either, because if you think about it, it only reels Best Jeanist back into his starting position. It doesn't completely save him. Like, the opponent can block it, and as Best Jeanist is like reeling himself back into like his starting position, the opponent can run over and punish him while he's like, you know, getting back into that position. So if the opponent predicts well enough, they're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna block, but they're probably gonna reel back. I'm gonna, you know, chase them down and just attack them and punish them for, you know, reeling themselves back into the starting position. So that's why it's not really that broken. I think it's pretty balanced, and also it's just an interesting gameplay mechanic. Also, this move is kind of like a reference to the series, sorta, because like when he was fighting All For One, right? He got like, you know, knocked to the ground and stuff, and he was trying to like, you know, get back up to fight, and he was using like these like fabric kind of like fiber spikes to kind of like lift him up. Like, they were shooting out of his back and his like neck and stuff, and because they were lifting him up, like those like fabric slash fiber spikes, because they were lifting him up, I got that idea, like, you know, these things are strong enough to like lift him up. What's stopping them from like, you know, pushing him along for like a sliding kick? Because, you know, like, if those little spikes can like lift him up ever so slightly, like I feel like a ton of them like attached to the ground would definitely be able to like push him along to do like a sliding kick. And not to mention, we know that he can like reel in people with like, you know, like these fiber slash fabric spikes. Like we know he can do that, so it's not that like far-fetched to think that he can like reel himself back in if like the kick doesn't work. So that's where I got this idea from. And for his quirk 2, I have it labeled Leaping Fabric Strike. This is where Jeanist would fire some fabric spikes at the ground from his back that would push him into the air. If the opponent is above him when he does this attack, he would need them as he gets launched up, which will launch the opponent into the air as well. And basically, you can kind of like combo this attack with his side quirk 1, Clothing Kick. And basically, like, you know, if the kick lands and then you kind of like kick them slightly upwards with that like slide kick, then you just do this attack and launch them into the air. And I got this idea from the same exact thing with his side quirk 1, you know, that one scene in the anime when he's like lifting himself up with like those little fiber slash fabric spikes. I used that same idea for this move because it's like, you know, instead of just pushing him along, why not just push him upwards, like, you know, like trying to get him some like height. And also it'd be pretty good to get him like, you know, into the air quicker instead of doing like a double jump. He can just do that, and it'd also be pretty good because again, it's like an actual move, so it would do damage as well. And it's also just good for combos and stuff. Like again, you can just use it for combos, like if you can get them into the air or like they're right above you, you can just like knock them out of the way. Like I think it would be a pretty cool animation to see, like just him shooting into the air with like a ton of like fabric spikes just shooting out of his back. I think that would be pretty cool to see. Moving on to his side quirk 2, I have it labeled Costume Capture. This is where Best Jeanist fires his threads from his costume, and if those threads connect, it would bind the enemy up into the threads. You can then pull the enemy to you, which would be good to start a combo. And basically, it is a medium range attack, but if the opponent is wearing a custom costume or a cosmetic, the range would increase to a larger ranged attack. So I think this move is really cool because we know in the series he can manipulate other people's clothing and stuff, and I wanted to kind of like incorporate that into the moveset somehow. So I thought, you know, they have custom costumes in the game and like cosmetics, like people dress up their characters all the time, so why not kind of like include that? So if you're not in like the base form costume without like any costumes on or any cosmetics, then it's a medium ranged attack. But if the opponent is wearing a custom costume or any form of cosmetic, then it would increase to a larger range attack. So it doesn't make it too overpowered, but it does give it kind of like a bonus. And that kind of like is like a reference to the series because we know he can manipulate other people's costumes, so that's where I got this idea from. And moving on to his red attack, I have it where he would kind of like slam the opponent into like the ground. And for his yellow attack, I have it where he would do a kick. I know these moves aren't really that flashy. They're kind of basic, honestly, but like I couldn't really think of anything. If you guys have like any other better ideas, let me know down in the comments below because I just couldn't think of anything, honestly. Like he was only like in like one fight scene in the anime, which was against All For One, and it wasn't really that long of a fight. So I kind of like couldn't think of anything for his red and yellow attack off that fight because, you know, all the other moves were like his quirk specials and stuff. So if you guys have any other ideas or any better ideas, let me know down in the comments below because I would love to hear your opinions and like thoughts about like his red and yellow attack because, to be honest, I just couldn't think of anything. And moving on to his level 1, I actually do have something for this. I have something for his animation. So for the animation, I would have it where Best Jeanist would fire a ton of threads from different parts of his costume at the same time. And basically, it would take up a small space around Best Jeanist, and if any of those threads that shoot out of Jeanist's costume connects with the opponent, it would pierce them, which would do the level 1 damage. So it's kind of like he would shoot spikes basically out of him. Like he would just have like a ton of like, you know, fabric spikes just shooting out of him, and it would be really fast. So if the opponent touches those spikes at all, they would just take the level 1 damage like immediately. I think the best way I can like describe it is kind of like if Kaminari's level 1 was like a physical attack rather than like a ranged attack. Like when Kaminari sets up like that electric field around him, it would be like that except a little smaller, but also like a lot faster. Like the spikes would just shoot out of Best Jeanist, and like if the opponent just gets like clipped by it at all, they would take the level 1 damage and they get knocked back because Best Jeanist would like retract those spikes back into him. So I think it'd be pretty cool level 1 animation to see like Best Jeanist just shooting like a ton of fabric spikes out of him, like just in like the small like area and stuff. I think it'd be pretty cool level 1 to see. And again, we know he can create these fabric spikes and they can be like really fast because of like the fight with All For One. So I definitely think it'd be pretty cool level 1 to see. And for his level 2 animation, I have it where the animation would begin with Best Jeanist staring at the opponent and then raising his arm that would fire fabric out, which would then cut to a close-up animation where you can see the fabric kind of like wrapping around the enemy, and it'd be kind of like in the anime. Then it would cut to the opponent who is now like binded up and struggling to escape. Best Jeanist would then begin to slam the opponent around as they are like trapped in the threads. The animation would then finish with one big large slam to the ground, which would cause a debris explosion, and as the smoke is clearing, you can see Best Jeanist kind of like styling the opponent's hair as they are knocked out and trapped in his thread still, and the style of the hair would be like how he styled Bakugo's hair in the anime. I think that would be a really cool reference, because if you guys remember like Bakugo's like hairstyle, I remember that like, you know, pretty well. Like that's like one of the things I remember Best Jeanist for, because I just thought it was super funny looking, and if you can imagine how like all the characters on the roster would look with like that kind of like hairstyle, I think that'd be pretty cool, and it'd just be a cool reference to the series. Not to mention, I think the animation of the level 2 itself would be pretty cool to see. Especially the part where like you can see like the close-up of like the threads like wrapping around the opponent, like how it was in the anime. I think that'd be a pretty cool thing to see in the game, and that's why I really like this level 2, because it's got like a really funny reference, but also like the level 2 animation is really cool looking to see. But that is my moveset for Best Jeanist. Yeah, I definitely think this character should be in the game. Like I feel like each of like the big 3 of Class 1A should have their mentors in the game, like All Might, Endeavor, and Best Jeanist. Like I feel like that should be a thing. Like I think that would be pretty cool to see, and could you imagine if they get like a Team Plus Ultra? Like I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, we have to wait for him to actually be in the game, you know, like hopefully one day, because I definitely think the character is popular enough, and also again, he's Bakugo's mentor. Like I definitely think he should be in the game. Not to mention his quirk could be really cool to see in the game, and could have like a really interesting moveset, and also it could have like a ton of references from like the series, because Best Jeanist is a pretty memorable character, I would say. And yeah, that is my moveset for Best Jeanist. If you guys would like to see a specific character in the series, let me know down in the comments below. I'd be happy to try to create a moveset for that character. And if you guys did enjoy, please like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.